of the old legacy
yeah,
platforms like YouTube, because I don't think I'm the only one. I think that the algorithm has got really bad, and so
yeah,
if you look at the recommendations, you're like,
yeah.
why does it
It's
think I would
it's
want to see that?
it's all sponsored. It's all publicity. The
Exactly.
all the maj the most majority of it, it's all publicity, and there's also a bit of a political stance that shines through the inclination of the algorithm,
Definitely.
which is biased by the political stance of the medium, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, yeah, that's perhaps the main reason why I'm really sick of YouTube. But it's not the only one. It's the same on Instagram, Facebook, or anything like that. I think Facebook was like it a long time ago. And so, yeah, but I think a lot of people want something different in
Yeah.
terms of
I,
platform.
by the way, I accessed your social media, the social media you advised us to follow. I followed you
Uh-huh.
on that, and
Oh, fantastic.
I also had the opportunity to witness your videos on this amazing chemistry, and also the one in which you built the what was it, the fuser,
Oh, the nuclear fuser.
the
Yeah,
nuclear
yeah.
fuser. It was exceptional, that one. I had to
That was
say.
thanks to I was following a chemistry guy at the time, and he
Yeah,
showed me how to make the fuser. He showed me how to, he said what thread, even what threads on the bar and things like that, how to put it all together. He gave all the instructions very clearly, and so I just did what he said on that video, and yeah, it was actually easier than I expected. The main thing is just getting a vacuum chamber. You need a vacuum chamber,
yeah,
and then you
yeah.
buy a vacuum pump, and yeah, that's the something that you certainly need to make it happen. But
Really amazing. I've never seen something like that
yeah,
On
it was
YouTube,
crazy.
at least.
It
On
it
YouTube, at least.
it was really, they're really pretty, the plasma displays that you get
Yeah,
inside, and you
yeah,
can do a lot of really interesting experiments that people did a long time ago. I really like doing the Christian Birkland experiments, where I looked at what he did and just tried to do the same thing. And it's very simple again. You just make the vacuum and then put a globe in there, a metal globe, but put one of those, very strong neodymium magnets inside, and it really does create lovely magnetic plasma displays.
it was really fascinating just to be and watch what you've done there. It was really interesting, I have
Oh,
to
I'm glad
say.
you liked it. Yeah, I'm glad you liked it.
In all honesty, I must pay you all the compliments, because it's uh, not gratis, free compliments. It's genuine ones.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah, I hope that it has inspired someone out there to do something similar, or just to get back into experiments. I mean, of course, I'm not really doing it with a serious frame of mind, because I'm doing it for fun. But still, nonetheless, I like, yeah, reading about a lot of those old scientists, like someone like Christian Birkland, but many others, and I like hearing about what they did, and yeah, what conclusions they came to. But of course, we can all still do this. There are a lot of experiments we can still do. And I like chemistry just as much as things like the fuser. And so when it gets to fireworks night, I've got some permanganate over there and things like that. And you can find lots of good flash powder
Yeah,
recipes or
I watched the experiments with the permanganate. Very very interesting, but it was a little bit dangerous with the sulfuric acid, I think.
yeah,
And
that's
I also watched what was it, potassium chlorate, the potassium chlorate experiment.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can make your own at home. You just do electrolysis as long as
Yeah,
you've got the potassium chloride salt.
chloride.
Yeah. And it's very easy to get that. I've got some over there, and so things like that are pretty easy. You can actually make your own fireworks as well, just with the standard stuff. That again, there are hundreds of videos showing this on YouTube, just using potassium nitrate and sugar or something like that. And then you don't even need to put them on the saucepan like they do in a lot of videos. You can just put it in a coffee grinder, grind the powders together so you get a good mixture, and then just bat it down in a cylindrical piece of cardboard, some like an old toilet roll, but thinner than that. And
Ah.
then it will go up. It will go up into the air like a rocket, not straight up. It will kind of go like that or something. You should do it in the woods, far away from any houses, because it could be a
It
bit dangerous.
fascinates me because I have to say that in my youth, now I'm 55, and when I was 19, when I studied at university a little bit, then I dropped out, and I studied chemistry also,
I dropped out of
organic.
chemistry as well. I dropped out. Oh, well, I transferred. I transferred to an
I'm
easy
sorry.
subject.
I'm a dropout. I'm sorry.
Me too, me too. I mean, I don't think you have to do these things when you're young. I would even say you're never too old to start something like this.
Yeah,
I haven't been doing it all my life at all, and I'm not doing it at the moment. I haven't done it for a long time, if I'm honest. Those
yeah.
videos that I released recently, they're from at least 5 years ago, or perhaps longer in some situations, but in some cases. But
Anyway, I have to say you're a bit atypical as as an English teacher because I was, as I was saying in my letter to you, in my
uh-huh,
text to you, I came across your courses by browsing the Udemy ones.
uh-huh.
But and also, very sorry that I noticed you had your own website because
Okay, yeah.
Udemy I found your courses, and it soon appealed to me because there you don't speak slowly, or you speak at a normal speed, and perhaps because I don't want to say that I'm at an advanced level, but because,
You are
but
at an advanced level. You are. I can't hear any mistakes. I'm trying to listen for a mistake so I can correct you, but I haven't heard any.
uh,
There
I've,
must be one in there somewhere, but I haven't heard any yet.
I, I'm not very good at speaking. I have to say that I've been studying and on and off for a long time in English, and it's my it became as an hobby of mine,
It
and
became a
then
hobby of mine. No, as
yeah,
yeah, it became a hobby of mine.
it became a hobby of mine, and then subsequently it is something which I love doing, which I love
Yeah, I
doing.
understand you. I understand you because I think it's always wonderful to learn another language. It
Yeah,
expands your mind, certainly. And
I
I
have
would be gone,
I
sorry.
just have this handicap of mine that is the lack of speaking practice.
Sure. I
'Cause-
mean, speaking is key. It's absolutely
yeah,
vital,
yeah.
naturally.
So sometimes my mind goes blank because I like the occasional word, how to put my thoughts into words, into English words, or better to use the right expression, the right fixed expression, because sometimes it comes to mind, my thought comes to mind, but to translate it into words it's difficult.
Yeah, the
It's
Italian
not.
comes to mind faster than the
Yeah,
English. Yeah,
yeah.
sometimes.
It's not immediate, and so. But
Sure. Yeah,
I
but
was
it's practice like anything else. Yeah, and the more you speak, the easier it gets.
it perfectly, yes.
Do you
But
want to try pictures, or would you like to try retelling a story, or we can discuss a topic? It's up to you. Don't mind.
uh, I don't know. What would you advise?
I don't mind. I like to leave it up to the student just because I think that retelling a story is just as good as retelling a picture, especially if you're doing it from memory, especially if you're doing something like that from memory. But it could be a film, it can be a TV show. For a long time, my students were telling me, well, they were retelling me TV shows, UK TV shows like IT Crowd or something like that. That's
I
one of the old
I
famous ones, but
I have to say that I'm not a film type of
I
guy.
know what you
I,
mean. Yeah. I know what you mean.
I'm rather a podcast kind of guy.
A what?
I'm
Sorry.
podcasts.
Oh, podcast kind of guy.
Yeah,
Podcast. Uh-huh.
yeah. I'm really. Uh,
Which podcasts do you listen to?
I've been lately really uh, blew away by
Blown
the
away. I've been
blown.
blown away.
I've been blown away
Good.
uh, by the BBC's podcast. The is this one the a scientific podcast, which is very interesting. Is conducted by Melvin Bragg. I don't know
Okay.
if you,
Okay.
yeah, and it's fantastic,
You're not going to
fantastic.
believe this, but I have actually taught Melvin Bragg's daughter. Yeah.
Really,
It was the strangest thing one time, but she came online for classes on Skype, just a few classes. But she told me who she was, and my jaw dropped when I found out. I thought, really? Wow, how strange. But yeah, so we've had a few classes. It's really nice to get to meet her, get to know her. And so, what kind of scientific stories does Melvin tell you about on this particular podcast? What kind of topics?
I know that. Sorry, just a second.
Yeah, sure.
Amazon stop. It was Amazon. Remind me,
It was
reminding
Amazon.
me. Yeah, yeah, the Echo Show, the Amazon Echo Show, which I set an alarm on that.
Okay, okay, yeah, I see.
Uh, can I just pop up just a
Sure.
second?
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
Here we are again.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's all right. That's okay.
I,
Go on.
I was cooking beans,
Yeah,
beans
I
and
understand. You
kale.
don't want them boiling over. Certainly
Yeah,
not.
yeah. I was cooking beans, they're frozen beans, pinto beans.
Frozen peas or
No, beans,
beans? Yeah,
beans.
frozen
Yeah,
beans. Okay.
to be precise, pinto beans.
Pinto
Pin,
beans. Okay,
yeah.
pinto beans. I only know baked beans.
No, I have to. I'm experimenting to
Okay.
pinto beans soup with pinto beans and kale.
And kale, I see.
Yeah,
Oh, do you enjoy cooking then? I assume you enjoy cooking.
yeah. I enjoy cooking. Yes, I'm not very good at it, but I
I'm sure you're
try.
better than me. I'm sure you're better than me. But I think it's a very useful skill. I always tell the kids this anyway. I say, learn to cook. Of course, it's independence being able to cook. It's a form of
Yeah,
independence. You don't have to rely on other people cooking for you or going to the junk food shop all the time. And of course, you're independent and it's healthy.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yes.
Definitely.
So, what kind of
So
scientific topics does Melvin discuss?
this I discovered that there are more than 1,000 episodes dating back. I think I don't know, perhaps 20 years.
Okay, yeah, I know he does a lot of philosophy ones. I know I know he.
There was one which I haven't listened to yet. That
Uh-huh.
is about the genealogy of morality. And by the way, I followed your lesson about genealogy of morality uh, just today.
Oh, okay, okay, wow. Yeah, perhaps because I put it on primal.net recently, yeah, on the Nostra thing.
No, because
On the other.
I bought your courses about
Oh,
philosophy,
okay, you
and
bought the
it was,
philosophy course. Uh-huh.
yeah, your philosophy course. And I have to say that in my youth, when I was 19, I read the genealogy of morality. I started to read it,
Uh-huh.
and I'd been reading at the time also uh, Human All Too Human,
Human all
uh,
too human. Uh-huh.
Human All Too Human, and in that work of his, Nietzsche was a little bit easier to understand, and he spoke about. It fascinated me because he spoke about der Freigeist, the free spirit,
Uh-huh.
concept, which fascinated me, and
I remember
But
we had human all too human because when we were young, I'm say we my this is me and my twin brother, yeah, my twin brother
yeah,
and I, we had
yeah,
human all too human for before we had genealogy, and for me, genealogy was the first book of Nietzsche where I read it and thought, I get it, I see what he's saying because it seemed to be in a long essay as
yeah.
opposed to little aphorisms like human all too human, which is certainly one aphorism, another aphorism, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard to see any connection between one aphorism and the next aphorism and the next aphorism. And so,
But the thing that I wanted to explain to you, it was that at my age, being 19, I was really sensitive to the subject of justice, and
uh-huh.
in that work of his Nietzsche was demolishing completely uh, the basis of the that ideal. So it was a trauma for me. It was a
Okay,
real
yeah.
trauma.
It's a
It
very
was a
important
blow.
question.
It was a really a real blow, and I suffered a lot by reading that. It
Okay, yeah,
was
from this new idea about justice or these new opinions about
yeah.
justice.
It
And so,
it
what did
was
you understand? How did you interpret Nietzsche's idea of justice in Human All Too Human?
I I I understood that he analyzed the 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 birth of the concept, the
Uh-huh,
historical
uh-huh,
birth, and
uh-huh.
so he says historically there's a question of convenience. There are the powerful ones which subjugate
Who
the
subjugate? That's the first one I've heard. Yeah, the powerful ones, they're people still.
yeah
Who
who
subjugate?
subjugate who subjugate the inferior, the inferior
Uh-huh. The
people,
weaker ones.
the
Okay, yeah,
weaker
the
ones,
uh-huh.
and so from this historically this becomes uh, accustomed to, which then becomes a concession by the powerful ones, and then it becomes the concept, the ideal, which we revere here nowadays. But in reality, justice doesn't exist.
Okay, okay, yeah. I find it very I mean there are a lot of different things we can say about the concept of justice, and I think you can
Yeah,
look at it from a lot of different perspectives.
yeah.
Do you see it as something like I mean it's something that has also been discussed since Socrates, Plato, yeah, they always talk about what is justice, or it's one of the questions Socrates would ask people on the streets, and that Plato talks about very much in the Republic. And so, would you be able to give us a definition of justice? And do you agree with Nietzsche that it doesn't exist?
I think justice is something like for me as a human, is something like the categorical imperative, the
Uh-huh.
Kantian categorical imperative. I think
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah, you
Uh,
think
I
that's a good
I
description of the I mean that's the ethical demand on people then, yeah, that
yeah,
categorical imperative. That's how people should choose what is good and what is evil, or what is right
yeah.
and what is wrong.
But I also understand that is a just a human concept, because we don't
Uh-huh.
we don't find the justice concept applied in nature, for example. It's when
Uh-huh.
we create a society, and we we contrast the force of natures that we can impose our ideal the justice ideal inside our society. But we have to be aware, fully aware, that our concept is completely human.
Uh-huh.
Is not a natural one.
So in that sense, it's imaginary in a certain
Yeah,
sense,
it's
yeah, that it
something that
doesn't
we
actually
like.
exist in nature.
Yeah, sorry.
Go
Yeah.
on, sorry.
No, no.
Keep going, keep going.
Your image was it was
Okay.
freezing for just for a moment.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not sure why that's going on. I think it is because I'm on a very long wire up to my house. That's why I switch to my phone with students if I ever have any problems,
No,
and
no,
that's got a very fast, unlimited connection. And
no, it's okay.
but
I
is
was
it
just
okay?
saying that if you are a human and you're aware that you want to impose inside the society you have created yourself, you want to impose this concept that you think it's okay to be introduced because you consider it just because it's inherent in your soul. You feel it true.
Yeah, it's a set of values. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
value system that you're trying to impose on society. Whenever there's a society, there's some kind of value system that ties it together, that ties everybody together. Yeah, but I think that that value system lays at the heart of justice and of the legal system, that kind of thing as well.
yeah, but we also at the same time have to be aware that it's an invented value.
Definitely.
It's something that it doesn't exist in nature because nature uh, works differently.
I would also say that it's
Whether
something
we,
which
we
changes.
like whether we like it or not, it's different.
Aha, yeah, there
What do
is
you
no.
think about it?
I agree. Yeah. Can you hear me? I
Yeah,
agree that I do agree that justice is something that you don't see in the natural world. That it's something that you only see really in the human world because it depends on that system of values. And that system of values does change. And that's why the idea of justice back in Plato's time was so different to the idea of justice that we have nowadays. It has changed in so many ways. And so, yeah, it seems to me that things which they considered just, we would consider absolutely disgusting and unjust, and things that they considered unjust, we would consider just. All sorts of things. There was certainly a different way of thinking in those days, and Nietzsche certainly focuses on these particular aspects of how different the Greeks and the Romans were, but in particular the ancient Greeks, the pre-Socratic philosophers, and before Plato, they had a very different understanding of values, of what a good person was and what a bad person was. And it
very,
seems to
very,
me that that system of justice, that the word justice is always connected to your values, what's good and what's bad.
yeah,
But yeah,
exactly, yeah,
that's just why I say it's a difficult question, just because what's considered just in one era, one
yeah,
epoch is considered
it,
very unjust. And it's not even just in era, it's even in countries. Yeah. You go from
yeah,
one country to another country and you realize that there's a different value system there. And okay, it's only nuances to some degree, but
yeah,
there are different values there. And you realize you say something sometimes which people at home would consider normal or natural. People can be quite astonished in another place because they just react to it in a different way. And it's because they have that different value system at the basis of their society.
yeah. I see.
I think
I
that you
agree
see.
completely.
I come from, in the UK, I think we have a very, I mean, not always and not necessarily much nowadays, but I think that there is a lot of, especially in the Protestant countries, I think that a lot of values come down to religious values, and certain countries that are more Catholic than Protestant will have more values that come from the Catholic faith, and Protestant countries will have values that are more directly connected to the Protestant faith. I really liked
Yeah,
the Max Weber book on
Max Weber.
capitalism. I thought that was
I've,
a really
I've,
good. Sorry,
I'm a little bit ignorant about that because I've never read of it.
I don't
I,
think I ever finished it, to be honest. I think I got about halfway, but I liked it. I liked the idea, the concept, and I agree that if you look at even in Europe, there seems to be a divide, Northern Europe and Southern Europe, and just you can perhaps connect some of the values that you see in Northern Europe to the Protestant faith and the values you see in Southern Europe to the Catholic faith. Possibly. It seems to me that it's more individualistic rather than collective in the North. Not always, not
Individualistic.
nowadays. Individualistic, yeah, more
Hmm.
focused on the individual rather than the group, the state,
Can I
or the,
ask
the
you?
population.
Can I ask you where you are based there, of whereabouts?
Sure, yeah.
The
I'm in Essex, which is the most populated, highly populated county in the UK. It's next to London. It's one of the home counties,
oh,
which are the counties around London. And I'm in a
I
town called Southend.
I have a friend. He's from Italy too. He's from Naples originally, and he moved there. He moved there in England, in Portsmouth.
Oh, we moved to
He,
Portsmouth. Okay,
he,
yeah, on the
he's,
south coast.
yeah, on the south coast, and is a very good friend of mine. And he tells me sometimes things that are incredibles. The Perhaps the other day he had a problem with his teeth, and he was forced to fly to Italy to get
To
it
go to a dentist, yeah?
yeah, to get it cured.
Aha, my wife will certainly agree with that. She goes back to Moscow for dentistry. So
Really?
yeah, yeah, your friend is not the only one. I think there are a lot of foreign people here who live here, but they go back home for any kind of doctor or dental surgery because they've tried here and they've thought never again. Personally, I have a great fear of doctors, and so I don't
Uh,
go near
I, I,
doctors.
I've read about it. Yes,
Yeah.
I also read your post about
Oh, okay. It was a post.
the,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I've always found them a little bit scary. I find medicine very scary. I think that it obviously carries a lot of, um, well, I think all medicines have side effects. And so
yeah,
they
yeah,
scare me for various reasons.
yeah,
But dentists, the last time I had a tooth extracted about maybe 6 months, maybe a year ago. But I went to my local dentist and I explained what I needed. I just wanted to pay the lowest price. And I felt like they tricked me to get £50 out of my wallet. They said, oh, well, you're not on the books. You have to, come get onto our books first. And to do that,
yeah,
you have to come in for an introductory session with our
yeah.
dentist. And when I did that, at the end of it, they're like, well, we don't do tooth extractions. Well, I told you from the very beginning I needed a tooth extraction. They sent me to another dentist, and I could have just gone
Oh,
straight there and got a cheaper price. It really
mm.
irritated me. But yeah, dentists. I think all healthcare.
How,
It's a
how,
scary topic.
how come the NHS is in this catastrophical situation right now over there?
I think it is in a catastrophic situation. I would agree, and yeah, I wouldn't even consider it. I mean, I would if I had a really serious problem where I really did need to talk to somebody, I probably would think about going private rather than going
Mm.
to the NHS. And I'm not a wealthy person, I'm not someone who grew up using private medicine. Certainly not. I always used public medicine. My mum and dad always used public medicine. But yeah, why is it in such a terrible situation? I don't know. I feel a little bit like health has become, in fact, not just a little bit, but a lot, like health is now a political issue. And it never should have
Yeah,
been because, of course, the first and foremost, it should be about health and not
you're
about
perfectly
politics.
you're perfectly right, Dave.
I think that
Yeah,
politics, corrupts,
yeah,
sadly. It's corrupted the education system, certainly, and it's corrupted the health system as well. It has creeped in everywhere,
yeah.
politics. I think I blame the government. They're easy to blame. They're a faceless organization, and so they are easy to blame. But I do blame they they're not. They're publicly funded by us, the taxpayer, and that means that they don't actually have to perform well. Yeah, nobody's watching them to perform in the free market. You don't perform well and you go out of business. Yeah, if I don't perform well, I go out of business. I'm under
Exactly,
pressure to perform well. But if you
exactly.
work for the state, then you're not under the same pressure. You've got a job for life. I mean, I don't want to, I know people who work in the public sector probably won't like me saying this, but the truth is, it's not got the same pressure to reach. They have performance targets instead, and that's another. We could go and we could discuss how that's bad also for a lot of
Yeah,
these organizations.
there are different aspects
Yes.
to consider. Yes,
Well,
also.
yeah, I think performance targets just often means that they just cheat in various ways, yeah, to make sure they reach their performance targets. But it does mean there's so much waste in the NHS, in the education system. There's so much. I mean, as a teacher, I can say that I think there's so much that they do at school where they're not learning much, and or it's things are being done in the wrong way, and they could actually be spending the time much more productively, I'm sure. And most of the time it's because of government overreach, where it's not academia anymore. It's become more like government brainwashing than anything like getting the kids to think, or getting them to think for themselves, or work their way through problems in their own way. Yeah, I think that education's suffered, and certainly health has suffered as well.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm not
you're
surprised to hear your
perfectly
story.
right. You're perfectly right
So,
here.
what's healthcare like in Italy?
It's also there are backlogs here
Uh-huh.
also.
There are
Uh,
waiting lists, yeah, that
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah, waiting lists, and also is sometimes a private medicine is preferred. Uh, s- uh,
I usually
compared.
ask my students myself. I've got a couple of doctors who I work with, and I ask them if I have a problem. I speak to Solino. I ask him, and he tells me what he thinks. He's an eye surgeon. I know he's worked as a doctor all his life. I respect his knowledge on this topic, and yeah, I'll ask him if I have a problem, but I don't
Whom?
usually feel sick. One of my students, one of my private students, he's a
Oh,
doctor.
really?
Yeah, he's a surgeon. And so
Oh.
he knows more than me, certainly on this topic. But I don't often feel bad. I was sick maybe about 4 or 5 days ago. I was, and well, I think it was on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday at the weekend, and it only lasted 12, 13 hours or so. I had a really bad headache. Felt a bit sick and decided not to go to the Nirvana concert that I had booked up and that my wife had already paid for. But I decided not to go in the end. I just felt too sick. But the next day, I was already feeling better, and I think it was
Oh,
just a standard cold.
oh,
And I,
Sadarco, it heals itself.
yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of the time, diet's very good for health. Think about what you should avoid and what you should have more of if you're feeling sick. A lot
Yeah,
of the time, our own lifestyle can help us, can lead us into bad health. And so, yeah, just thinking about what we can do. Even before we take any kind of medicine or anything like that, because I don't like the way I feel like everybody just takes a pill whenever they have any problem nowadays. They just think, oh, a pill will solve it. And
yeah.
of course, there are other things we could do to solve our health problems, especially things like diet.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you. And sure enough, I put a lot of attention on my diet.
I pay a lot of attention
I,
too. I
I
pay a lot of
pay a lot of attention to my diet.
good. Yeah. And so what kind of diet do you recommend?
I'm not a dietitian, but
Uh-huh.
I try to stick to a lot of vegetables
Uh-huh.
and a little bit of proteins,
Uh-huh.
and also a good deal of good olive oil. Uh, um, yes, good deal of seeds.
Uh-huh.
Uh, in my at breakfast, I I'm in the habit of consuming different kind of seeds,
Uh-huh.
nuts, walnuts, hazelnuts, pistachios.
I like pistachios.
The other ones, these cashew nuts,
Uh-huh.
pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds also. Yes,
Excellent.
a little bit of them put together to not exceeding 30 grams on average at breakfast. It's very good.
30 grams is plenty. Yeah.
Yeah, 30 grams. Yes.
Yeah, I think it is important not to go too far, never to overeat. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not easy when it's tasty and it's in
because
front of you.
it's good value, nutritional values, but it's also a lot of calories,
Uh-huh.
so you have to be careful not to exceed with
Yeah,
them.
I must admit, calories aren't something I very often count. I eat a lot of meat myself. I'm a big meat eater.
Really,
Yes, very big meat eater.
you
Always have
like
been.
what kind of meat do you like?
Red
Beef?
meat, usually. Yeah, red meat, beef and pork.
Mm.
And yeah, I'll eat a lot of chicken as well.
Sausages?
Certainly, certainly sausages. I mean, nowadays I have slightly different sausages. I really like fouette. I really like the is it Catalan sausage. I think it's from
Oh,
Catalonia. I think it's Catalan sausage. I like it's dried sausage. It's not it's not like the standard UK sausages. It's a dried, spiced, cured sausage.
I have to be honest with you, Dave. I like that kind of food really much.
Yeah,
But
like charcuterie. Yeah, like it's that section in the supermarket anyway.
there's a kind of salami which
Yeah,
is which is which is in Calabria. Um,
go on.
it's
I'll write
called
it down.
nduja. It's called
And
nduja.
andouille.
Nduja.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and I don't know if you know it, and I die for it. It's absolutely delicious.
I would say I'd kill for it, or yeah, I
Uh, uh,
we do
I'd
say
kill
I'm
for it.
dying for something. I'm dying for a drink or something like that. We do say I'm dying for, but I wouldn't put it into present simple. I die
Okay.
for it. As soon as you put it into present simple, it sounds a bit strange.
Yeah,
You might say I would kill for it. You
I
might
would
say
kill
that
for
I
it.
would
Yeah,
kill for that. Yeah, but
yeah. It's absolutely delicious, Dave.
I never used to.
Trust me, it's difficult for you, but if you
I can
can
trust it.
if you can get it, you have to ask for Spilinga Nduja. Nduja from Spilinga.
Spilinga. Uh-huh.
Spilinga is the actual location where there's the original one, and
Okay,
it's
yeah, where they
absolutely
manufacture this
it's
sausage. Yeah, where
spi
they make
it's
it.
spicy. If you
Uh-huh.
like spicy,
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, I love
definitely.
spicy sausages, and this one is absolutely delicious.
I will have a look. Yeah, I
Yeah,
never used to have this kind of sausage. I only started when I went abroad.
yeah.
My
It's
palate got wider when I went abroad. I was used to burger and chips. I was a I was brought up on
yeah,
typical UK cuisine,
fish and
which
chips.
yeah, I think exactly. I think it was really quite. I mean, I think people here think fish and chips is healthy sometimes. And whenever I've had fish and chips, it makes my stomach feel so heavy, especially it's just such a big portion usually, and it's so filling. Fish and chips, it's really
Yeah,
filling food. um
yeah.
yeah, and so it was only when I went abroad I started having dried sausage. I'd never had it before, and I just started eating lots of things because I was hungry, and I wasn't a very big chef. I'm still not nowadays, and so anytime anybody offered me something, I said yes, yes, please, and it
I,
meant that I started eating new stuff.
I remember when I was a little kid, my father used to dry sausages, and
Really?
there was a particular kind that is from uh, uh, meat from and there was also liver,
Uh-huh.
heart. That was this particular kind of sausages that are a little bit tastier, and they were delicious.
It was just it had liver and heart inside the sausage, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
included
yeah,
liver, heart, so
yeah.
various organs as well.
Yeah, various organs, lungs,
Wow.
the I don't know the terms, the general terms that indicates uh, heart, liver, and lungs, and also kidneys, their insides, and
Entrails,
entrails,
entrails, entrails, yeah.
exactly, entrails.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
I see. So it has the entrails inside as well. It uses those
Yeah,
as well.
and they're a bit higher in cholesterol levels
Uh-huh.
because, as you easily know, all the organ inside our bodies, like mainly also brain,
Uh-huh.
is full of cholesterol. So you have to pay a little bit of attention because they're very high in cholesterol, but they're they're really delicious.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I have no idea about cholesterol. I've never been good with biology, and so I really have no idea. Calories, cholesterol, even things like proteins, fats. I have no idea. I'm not sure. And
I I'm
go on.
very into, if I can
Uh-huh.
interrupt, sorry to
Please, please.
interrupt. I'm very into biology. I In particular in viruses. I like viruses. I
Viruses.
viruses. Yes, I attended. It was more than 11 years ago. It was 2013 when there was the fad of MOOC, massive online courses,
Oh,
massive online
MOOC, yeah,
courses.
yeah, MOOCs, yeah.
MOOCs, yes,
What was it?
and
What was the first one called? There was something. There was an online platform which was
yes, it was Coursera. Coursera.
Coursera.
Yes,
Coursera.
on Coursera in 2013, there was a very beautiful course on viruses, and it was presented by Professor Vincent Racaniello. It is an American professor, very knowledgeable on this subject, and I attended a course and also completed it, and it
Uh-huh.
was very fascinating
I
stuff.
remember doing some course on Coursera a long time ago. I did do one or two. I think actually I was doing it with a student. A student wanted to do the course, and it was project management or something like that. It's a bit boring, being honest. It wasn't too interesting. But yeah, I can imagine that if you're choosing a science discipline and it's something you're really interested in, I can imagine it being a very good course.
Yeah, it was. Uh, there was a thing that I'd like to ask you, if I may,
Please.
Dave. I'd like very much to take lessons with you one on one. If but I already know that you only accept bitcoins in payment.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so so. It's a subject which I know virtually nothing about. So I'm in the process of informing myself about it. And when I will be ready to buy in an exchange some bitcoins, uh, I will I will come to you asking for a private lesson.
Do you know which platform they use in Italy? Usually, they usually have one which is the biggest platform. Here in the
Which one is
UK,
it? Which
in the
one is it?
UK, it's Coinbase.
Coinbase.
It used to be Binance, I think. There was Binance and Coinbase both as the biggest platforms, but I don't know what it is in Italy. And there's perhaps better ones. There are different ones in each country, which are the main ones there. But Coinbase is one of the biggest ones worldwide, and Binance have always been a big player in it as well. But there are other ones, and perhaps there are much better places. If you
I
know somebody that can do it directly to you, I would always say do that. If you have a friend who has some and wants to sell some,
I also know by asking to some colleagues of mine that are more knowledgeable than me on this subject that exists also the physical
they do.
ATMs
Yeah, they
in
do.
which you insert the physical real money, and
Yeah,
in return you have the bitcoins.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I have to admit that I know nothing about it.
That
I'm
way is
very,
the non KYC way, as they say, yeah, where you don't have to give your identity in that way, and you can still get the Bitcoin. With
yeah.
the online platforms, a lot of people don't like them because they have to give their identity when they buy the Bitcoin, and some people think that that's an invasion of their privacy. Um, you know, uh, if it bothers you, then it bothers you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It depends
No, it
on.
doesn't bother me, but it's just my ignorance in on the subject. Uh,
The
just
one
that.
problem with the platforms is they charge a lot of money, Coinbase and Binance, they charge a lot of money when you try to send it off the platform. And you will need to do that to send it to me. And so that's one thing which is a disadvantage. There are so many different ways you can do it, but they all have their pluses and minuses naturally. You have to weigh up the pros and cons. There are some places which are peer to peer. And so you go on there and you find somebody who it's like a marketplace. You find
Oh,
someone who is selling Bitcoin, you say, I'm ready to buy it, and they send you their details, their bank account details, and then you have something like 5 minutes or 10 minutes to send them the money, and then they send you the Bitcoin. And so there are those platforms as well, which are peer to peer, and they're usually not know your customer platforms. You can normally do that, I would say, pseudo anonymously, because you're not completely anonymous. They still have your bank
I
account
see.
details. Well, one person does anyway. And so, yeah, they're all different. And it really, you find the one which works for you, find the
Yeah,
way which works for you.
I will. I will do certainly.
But yeah, please do so. I think it is becoming the next big thing, and I just think that when we're all suffering from inflation of our national currencies, of our fiat currencies, what more can we do than just
Uh,
start using
yeah,
something that doesn't inflate? Yeah.
yeah. I will. It's just my. It depends on my ignorance on the subject because I'm not very knowledgeable. I have to say I'm absolutely ignorant about economics and economic subjects
I think a lot of
related.
economists are ignorant about economics, to be honest with you. I think there are a lot of people out there. I would say, what do we learn about money at school?
Nothing.
Virtually nothing. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolute
virtually
zero.
nothing.
Wonder
Yeah.
why that is, and again, they're too busy teaching the kids politically charged themes that have got nothing to do with academia. And when they could be learning about money, which would be a really useful topic for all of them. But I get the impression nobody wants to teach them the real deal about money, or the nitty gritty, the dirty details about money, how it actually works, especially in terms of inflation,
I have to
and
say
that's what.
that I'm ignorant. I'm actually ignorant on the subject, but I have all the intention to be knowledgeable, a bit more knowledgeable about it, and to also about bitcoins. Because I really need a guide on my English. Because being at this level, I would like to know how to progress, how to hone my abilities, and
Yeah.
I really need a guide like you, Dave,
Yeah.
which can advise me on
Who
that.
can advise
Who
me?
who
Who
can
can advise
advise
me?
me on
You
that?
don't make many mistakes at all. I can see that you don't make many mistakes at all. And so you'd have to be retelling something difficult, something tricky. I recommend literature, because in literature, you really do get far more complicated sentences than in TV shows or films. The dialogue can be very simple in a TV show or film. It isn't always. There are some shows out there which have pretty tricky dialogue. House of Cards is pretty good, in fact, for difficult dialogue. But Secret History has got loads of good stuff in it, and so that's a course which I'd recommend. Well, I'd
I
recommend it.
like also reading a lot in English
Uh-huh.
because it became something just to learn English, and now it's something that which I do uh, for its own sake
Yeah, yeah,
because I
yeah,
like it. And
yeah. I know what you mean.
so I think I have more or less 50 books under my belt now in English,
Excellent.
all original ones. And so I like it, and I continue to do that.
I chose this book on purpose for this course, just because it was, well, firstly, it was a book which I really, really liked. It was a page turner. I found it very, yeah, very readable. But secondly, I like the way she makes sentences. All of the different topics that I teach, they're in there. I mean, things like mixed conditionals or stuff like that, and a lot of inversion, subjunctive, a lot of the higher level topics.
I will be the first to buy it, but I would
Well,
like to
don't
buy
buy
it.
it. Don't buy it if you're going to get
Yeah,
private classes, because I'll just give it to you if you get private classes. So don't buy it if you're going to get private classes. Just come for a private class, and then I'll give you
okay,
free
okay,
entry.
okay,
That's the best way. But
okay,
yeah,
fair enough, fair enough.
then you can use that and retell a chapter each class. I actually think that's the way I make the fastest progress when I'm learning a language. I like taking literature and retelling it during the class. And yeah, it's great if you can read it before, a couple of times, maybe even is
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
Where and you focus on the.
I have to say that I also have an Audible subscription,
Oh,
an Audible
good.
subscription, and I do this, usually do this. I I read while
And
listening to
listen at
it
the same time.
at the same
Excellent.
time.
Yeah,
And
that is brilliant.
the second time, I do this with this one because a little bit simpler, but perhaps with the Secret of History it wouldn't be possible. But with this one, which is Richard Osman's We Solve Murders, I the second time I listened to it without reading it.
That's
I just
great.
listen.
Yeah, I think you're doing everything exactly the right way. You know, that's what I like doing as well. I find that if I just read the book, I don't understand as much as when I
Yeah.
listen and read. I actually understand far more when I listen and read. Something about the listening, perhaps because I've got a wife that talks to me in the foreign language all the time, it becomes much easier, and it really helps me put things together as well. Some of the grammar gets put together as I'm going along. So yeah, I really like the audio and reading at the same time, and then just audio. That's a really good idea. The good news is that Donna Tartt herself reads this one on YouTube. You can find Donna reading it, and I thought that was great. It's nice to hear the writer herself reading the story aloud. She knows how it's supposed to be read, I suppose, and so that's great that you can hear her voice. And it's nice not to just hear a UK accent, but she's got a Southern US
Yes.
accent,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's good to get different accents as well.
And it was surprisingly, it was her debut novel in
Yeah, I can't
1992.
believe that. And my
Yeah,
wife told me that her other novel isn't very good, and so I haven't tried it yet. But I will try it one day because I did like this one. Get the
the
Golden,
Goldfinch,
yeah,
Goldfinch.
yeah.
It was the in 2014 she won the Pulitzer Prize on that. The
Yeah,
Goldfinch.
exactly. So she's won a big award for this.
Yeah,
I heard that there was a bidding war about this first book, which is
yeah,
very
Billy
where
Ward.
they were bidding for
Exactly.
her.
Yeah.
They obviously liked it as much as I did. But yeah, I'm glad that you do the audio as well. That is great because English isn't very phonetic. Obviously, it's not phonetic at all, and that's
I
why it's got to
noticed
be done.
I noticed that um, specific, especially later, I'm noticing. I've been noticing the nuances of the accent. I've been noticing perhaps the intrusive R. I have been noticing something that before I wasn't aware of.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, it can sometimes take a very long time to notice sounds.
Yeah.
It took me a very long time to just notice certain sounds in again in the foreign language where I wasn't really sure that I couldn't hear the difference between two different words and they were being pronounced differently and they both sounded the same to me. And then after a while you get it, you suddenly hear it at the end and think, oh yeah, they're different actually. And so
Yeah.
yeah, it's practice like anything else. And of course, doing the audiobooks, that's a really good way of doing it. It's really good for learning pronunciation and getting a bit better, improving.
Definitely, definitely, absolutely. Listen, Dave, I have to say that I've been really lucky, really fortunate today because no one, no one else of
Yeah,
my
that's okay.
other
You're,
field,
you're lucky. Yeah, yeah, indeed. No one's come.
no one's come. Yes,
It's
so
okay. I like to have different faces all the time. Anyway, I have to shoot off now. I have to go, but
yeah, yeah.
appreciate
I
appreciate you
let you
coming
go.
along.
I really appreciated your kindness, and it's been a real pleasure to speak to you, Dave. I really hope that in the future, we're gonna have a private lesson, and so
Excellent.
a very nice evening to you, your wife, and I think your little cats, if you have one.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, one of them passed away very
Yeah,
recently. It's a real
I
shame, but
I thought you had another one.
I do more
Yeah.
because she was in the garden earlier. More.
Oh,
But yeah, it was sad.
yeah.
He's actually, I mean,
I
that
also
bar
respond.
has a picture of a cat on the front. I'm a very big cat lover, and yeah, he used to come in, Shock and sleep on that bar and things like that. So it's a real shame that he, sadly, he was a big wanderer.
I'm
He
very
was a
sorry for
wandering
your
cat.
loss, Dave.
Yeah, indeed,
Yeah,
it was. It was painful. It was
uh,
painful, being honest. He was a
yeah,
lovely cat.
I know. I answered to your post on the blog on the
Oh,
blog.
on Primal, yeah, on
Yeah,
Nostra.
yeah.
Well, it's been a
So
pleasure to meet you too, Luca. Thanks very much for coming along. And I look forward, I look forward to hearing that you've already got on to one of the platforms on Italy and you're ready to go. Yeah,
yeah, thank you very
fantastic.
much. Thank
My
you very
pleasure.
much.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Speak soon. Speak soon.
Speak
Take it
soon.
easy. Have a great weekend.